So if you clicked on this video, I'm going to assume either you were also labeled a gifted kid and want to learn more about why it's actually a curse and how to fix it, or you weren't and you're just curious. But even if you weren't a gifted kid or labeled a gifted kid in school, in this video you will learn problems that you may also be facing or advantages you have because you weren't labeled as gifted. So in junior high, I was a nerd, right? I made good grades and I was into video games. And because I was also into computers, I was known as the geek squad of the junior high. So if a teacher in class started having issues with their computer, these kids would be like, well, Kenny's a fucking nerd, he can help. And look, I'm not bragging about this. This whole video is about how it was actually a massive detriment to me and to other gifted kids, but I was defaultly very good at school. I didn't have to study and I got good grades. Because of that, in junior high, they threw me into gifted and talented, which you would think that means they put all the smartest kids in this classroom and we start working on the nuke like we're Oppenheimer. But no, it was mainly just hanging out. Me and my friends would play Minecraft Pocket Edition. But what happens when you're a young kid and people start telling you, oh, you're a gifted kid, you're a smart kid, and you get put in special classes and treated specially by teachers, that very quickly becomes part of your identity, part of your ego. And this carried on with me into high school. I would just coast through classes, allergic to studying, and we'd have these 6-week projects where you have 6 weeks to do this big project for classes, and I would wait till the night before. And that feedback loop of, I don't have to put in effort, I still get good results, became cemented in me where I thought, if something doesn't come easy to me, what's the point? I'm just gonna find stuff that comes easy to me and exploit that. And some of you watching may be able to relate to that. School in general came easy, or you excelled in a certain subject like math, or maybe you were really good at drawing or something, some kind of skill. And right now, everything sounds great. In fact, it seems like I'm bragging or I'm flexing on the non-gifted kids. But that couldn't be further from the truth, because as soon as I emerged from high school and during high school, which I'll explain, being gifted, having this higher intellect by default, sabotaged the rest of my life. What happens with gifted kids is that we may spawn in with a higher than average skill level. It's like in a video game, a skill level of intellect. But instead of just playing the game and leveling up all our skills, we abuse that specific trait, try to max that one out in other aspects of intelligence, such as emotional intelligence, empathy, sympathizing with people, social skills. Stay low. And a great example of this was my friend Travis, who he didn't excel in school by default. He had to study quite a bit. He had to try very hard to get passing grades. But when it came to his social life, he could effortlessly make friends. He could effortlessly get attention from girls. So in reality, who's more gifted? And since I wasn't in touch with my emotions, nor could I understand them, I didn't know why I did a lot of the things I did, because I wasn't aware of the underlying emotional triggers that would cause me to do certain things, such as bad habits, such as how I spoke to certain people, as well as I didn't know how to control my own emotions, because if I did have an emotion, or if my ego felt a certain way, I could use my intellect to provide all the justification in the world to why that is right, why I am right. Because if our self-awareness of emotions and our emotional intelligence is low, it is extremely difficult to make behavioral changes, because you can't rely on logic to do that 99% of the time. There has to be some sort of emotional charge. For example, when I got into fitness in the gym, what made it stick wasn't me logically thinking about how I'll look 5 years from now, 10 years from now, logically thinking about all the health benefits of doing that more than video games. It was once I got started a little bit, the fun I had and the joy I felt hanging out with my friends there, and then the joy, satisfaction, confidence boost that me and my ego experienced when I would see the newbie gains, the results. All of these emotional feelings is what got me to stick with this behavior. And when you're like this, you don't put a lot of effort into developing yourself or trying to discover yourself, which actually perfectly explains why in 2020, when I threw myself out into the real world, moved into an apartment, moved away from home, and COVID happened. So I wasn't working very often, all the gyms closed down, and I just had to sit around doing nothing but video games and pornography all day. I suffered an intense identity crisis. I genuinely did not know who I was. This label that I was given and clung to throughout all of my childhood wasn't benefiting me anymore. There was no fruits of it. And it's almost like it wasn't even there. This is why the idea of, oh, your kid's gifted, they're gonna go excel and become a doctor, or they're gonna become the next Bezos or Steve Jobs, is so far from the truth. In fact, gifted kids are actually more likely to drop out of school than regular kids. So here is how I and how you can fix these issues. Firstly, we need to conquer our egos. So while a lot of people, when they hear the word ego, they think it has a negative connotation. You think of people who are egotistical, self-centered, narcissistic. That's not the case. The ego is just a term such as ego, identity, self-image. And unlike some people in the self-improvement world that may say, ego is the enemy, you need to dissolve your ego, that is not true whatsoever, because while the ego is a terrible master, it is a great servant. There's been plenty of times in my life where my ego resulted in high levels of self-confidence, almost an arrogance, almost a delusion that led me towards succeeding in something that I could have given up on. So we are going to conquer our egos, not dissolve it. And how that works is basically we're going to beat the shit out of it, but we're not going to kill it. We're going to beat it so much into submission where we can manipulate it and put it back into the slave quarters. So firstly, we need to begin to raise some of those other skill levels. We need to begin to raise our emotional intelligence, our self-awareness, our conscientiousness, and something you can start doing instantly that will instantly start building and strengthening the mental muscles to make such things easier is meditation. Meditation absolutely changed my life because it allowed me to begin to detach from identifying with my thoughts. It began to allow me to regulate my emotions, understand my emotions, build up my skill of focus, the ability to enter flow states, and it was just throwing these constant jabs at the ego, challenging it, like, is there really a self? Am I really here? So if you would like to start doing this and getting those benefits instantly, even if you can't tell it's making changes in your brain, then I highly recommend you checking out my free 5-day guided meditation series in the description below after this video. And next, we need to understand that our default as gifted kids, as people of high intellect, is to dismantle all other perspectives that aren't our own. This could be perspectives from your friends, perspectives you read in books, that you hear in a podcast, see in a video, and instead of allowing your ego to instantly go into defensive, dismantling mode, attempt at your best capabilities, use your intellect to try to understand that perspective, even if you don't agree with it. And then beyond that, turn towards yourself and challenge your previously held assumptions, because more often than not, as gifted kids, we hold tons of cognitive biases that are completely false. And if you don't challenge these and change some of them, they will continue to sabotage you the rest of your life. And lastly, you need to seek out real life experiences that challenge your cognitive biases. What we tend to do is we rely on a lot of theoretical data in order to make assumptions. I did exactly this. I would avoid certain situations, events, experiences, because I had all this theoretical data of why it could be bad, or why I won't like it, or why it's not for me, and that's all I needed. But let's say, for example, and I've had somewhat similar experiences, a friend says, hey, come with me to this birthday party. It's a big house party. We're gonna have fun. You're gonna meet some people, and you're shitting bricks. Because all of your previously held beliefs, all of your cognitive biases, your ego trying to defend you is saying, I'm just gonna end up sitting in the corner, looking at my phone, going through the weather in the calculator app. No girls are gonna talk to me. It's gonna be really awkward. I'm just gonna wanna leave. So you could just stay home. After all, you have all this theoretical data to prove you're right. But for some reason, you go to that party with your friend and you have a great time. Everyone's really interested in you. All the music's playing, it's just your favorite songs, and you even get approached by a cute girl that asks you to dance. Suddenly, you have a new real-life experience, new data sets that completely challenge your previously held beliefs. Not only the beliefs you had about parties, but beliefs you had about yourself. Also, you're going to need to learn how to fail. Because up until this point, you've either done things you're naturally good at, or your ego has protected you from doing things that you will fail at and will challenge your self-image. So not only will you go out, seek new experiences, try new things, but when you fail, just take it on the chin, learn from it, and keep trying if that's something you want to pursue. And the thing about doing a lot of these types of things is it's scary because you're going to be dismantling your identity, which is terrifying, because you had this identity that said, I'm this way, I'm special, I'm different, I can only do these things, I can't do these things, my life needs to be like this, or maybe I'm doomed for my life to be this certain way because I'm very smart, but very lazy. I'm very gifted, but I can't connect to people. I was smart in high school, but I can't study, so I'm gonna fail in college. And you have to keep challenging yourself and proving to yourself that what you thought you were, your previously held identity, was wrong. And that is scary because there's like this limbo where, well, who am I? But the thing is, the only way to instill a new identity, a better ego, a higher self-image is by dismantling the old one. You can't have this giant self-image, this giant ego identity that's causing all these issues in your life and just try to introduce this little bitty new identity into the room and think the other one's gonna be like, all right, bro, bet, later, we'll switch them out. No, you have to beat the shit out of that so that then you can bring this other one in and it stays. I also had to, funnily enough, develop a student mindset. Despite being a good student, I had a terrible student mindset because I had a mindset of, I can get away with things normal kids can't. I can get away with not studying. I can get away with wasting hours on video games. And this mentality carried on into my adult life. For example, back when I was struggling with pornography addiction, I would tell myself, I can get away with it this time. I can get away with it here and there and still reach my goals. When reality was, no, it was holding me back immensely. So as we get rid of that identity, as we're in a way humbling ourselves, we need to shift to this mindset of a student that doesn't know shit. This was huge for my self-improvement journey because throughout my self-improvement journey, my ego was holding me back in so many ways, and I had to just keep slipping back to this mindset of, I can't afford not to learn about this. I can't get away with these bad habits. I can't get away with not researching these specific topics. I have to do my daily meditations. I have to read these specific books. I have to go for these certain life experiences that make me uncomfortable. And throughout all that, I was able to level up all my other skills, to completely change my life, to completely get rid of bad habits, and all of these issues that being a gifted kid blessed me with. And if you are interested in learning my exact self-development protocols to completely reinvent your self-image, your identity, so that you can unlock authentic confidence, elite levels of focus and discipline, and actually become the version of yourself that is required to achieve your goals, you can check out Mental Mastery in the description after this video if you want. So if you watched this entire video, first of all, thank you. I would really appreciate if you would comment your ideas on this topic, your experiences with either being gifted or not being gifted, because one, I like reading the comments, two, it helps the video perform better, and three, it may inspire another person reading the comments because they can relate to you. So drop a comment. And if you liked the video and liked me and felt like you got some value out of it, I'm going to put another video right here that I think will benefit you even further, so you can check that one out if you want. Thank you. Bye-bye.